And I started recording. Hello, everybody, again. Good morning. Welcome to the course. It's DSA 456. It's one of the nice courses we have in this program, and that's great. So, what I like to do is I would like to introduce the course, the structure we have on the Blackboard, but the main course, as you probably know, is on GitHub. So, I'm gonna go through the things we have on Blackboard, and I'm going to show you the things we have on the GitHub. Just note that the in-class labs seem to be kind of mandatory, and the college has asked us to do everything possible to bring you there. That's why we have the markings in there. And I would really like to encourage all of you to attend all the labs. None of them could be missed. There might be some markings involved, especially in the labs. We have some labs. I believe lab 4 in the first half of the course. By the first half, I mean before the study break. And we're going to have labs 5 and 7 after the study break. Those need to be done in the class over 1 or 2 weeks as well. But other than that, we're going to talk about more concepts. We're going to show you probably more coding examples in the in-person classes. Note that they are not recorded. I'm going to bring more things to talk about in the in-person labs. And then the other thing is I will do 2 sessions at least, one before the midterm and one before the final exam, to go over some samples and talk about some mock questions you might face in the exams as well. So just note that, please, again, don't miss the labs, the in-person ones, because they are not recorded. And if for some reason you missed any one of them, you have to ask your friends who are in there to provide you with the notes or things like that. And especially for the labs which should be done in the class, we can't give you marks if you don't do that in the class. This is, again, based on the course policy. I don't like to do it, but this is based on the course policy, and we have all to follow that. So this is your section, right? If I switch to your view as a student preview, this is what you should be seeing at the time. So in here, what you see is my name. My name is Reza. Nice to see you, virtually, at least for now. There is this course description, these kind of things, which we don't have many things in here. But the most important thing in here is that you have the announcements, that you have received 2 of them starting, I think, yesterday. The first one is Welcome to DSA 456. And if you click on that one, it gives you a nicer format. And it says there is a welcome video, how to access the course material. If you follow that one, it will lead you to this YouTube, this Microsoft stream. And this is from Kathy, who is the course lead. I would recommend you watch this one. It's a short video. It's about 6 minutes. And it gives you the things you need, like the principal things you need to have, like the GitHub account and some recommendations. And so please watch these ones. All the links you see in the contents. We use 4 tools, big blue button that you are all in here, so you know how to attend for the rest of the semester. Microsoft Teams for asynchronous discussions and private messages. I would say for me, email works best, and even better than that one. I would recommend most happen in person in lab. So after, basically the office hour I have is right after your lecture, right? So I would stay there, and I will stay as much as you need me. So don't worry, I will stay in the class. You can come and talk to me if you have any problems regarding the setup, the first things you need to set up for the course, like this week or next week's. I will stay in the class, and that would be much more easier to go over your questions compared to the email or Microsoft Teams. Although mentioned in here, I would recommend that happen to be in person, because that could be providing you better feedback, right? So the third one is GitHub for all the course content, just discussion board, labs, assignments, notes. We're going to talk about that one. I'm going to show you that one shortly. Blackboard for grades and announcements. And by Blackboard, we mean this Blackboard Ultra, right? So to help you set up, please see the Getting Started module. And I'm going to read through these at least in the first few weeks, maybe at least just this week at least, such that because I know some of you are lazy reading this, I just want to make sure we have gone through all these at least once together. Okay. So all the course content is inside the course repository. The course repository is a private repository, but you could join that one. Again, watch the video first. Get access to these GitHub related links. You need to use this link, which when you click will lead you to this. Probably what you see for the first time would be join. You need to click join. Maybe you might receive some emails as well. Just you need to confirm. Then there is this repository, which is a private repository that you get access to. You go there. And note that this, when you join or probably do something in your email, you need to authorize this application called GitHub Classroom to access your GitHub account, right? Such that you can see the contents for this course. And then when you click on this guy, then you will be led to here. This is the place you see with assignments, a folder for assignments. At the time, the only thing I can tell you is many of them says coming soon, or maybe all of them says coming soon. So they're going to be, we're going to let you know when they happen. So for now, just forget about them. Look at them just like some templates for now. Then you're going to have the labs folder, which is the lab starts with lab-00.md. All of these are markdown files. Make sure you do it. The lab 2 doesn't have any marks, and it's just for practice. It helps you set up and be up and running for the other, because other labs and assignments, you're going to have the same kind of the same procedure. There's a video instruction here as well, again provided by Kathy, so you can have a look at this other video we have in here regarding the way you can start setting up the environment for the labs on this private GitHub repository. Okay, just make sure you go through all these steps. You need to get your GitHub ID, blah blah blah, the same as usual. You know this stuff, and then you need to go to this GitHub classroom.github and accept the labs. So you can accept a group assignment for the labs. You can join in here or create your team for the labs. More on that later. Then it's been explained that you need to create a team, and then you need to go to this address and then find your, you can find typing in here, right? Find your team, and then blah blah blah. Everything is explained. Just like to show you this thing first, because this is the lab 0. You don't need to go over that one line by line. I just need to tell you that this is there, and you need to go over these steps, right? Then there are these checklists, and what are the tasks, and how to use the code spaces. There is this video instruction and explanation on the code spaces on GitHub as well. This is a nice option you might have. Instead of cloning from GitHub and do it locally and then push it back to your repository for the labs and assignments, you have this option to do it directly. Sorry, you do it directly on GitHub using the code spaces, which is kind of virtual PC you have on the cloud side of the GitHub, right? this virtual environment you have. And the only thing you might need is you need to be able to connect through the internet. So you could do the same on Chromebooks or whatever if you don't like to install things locally. So this is a nice feature. Make sure you watch this second video as well for this first week, because again, in the rest of the semester, you're going to be needing the same thing, doing the same kind of procedure. So again, you have this option to do run in code space, but just don't forget whatever you do in the code space, because code space on other virtual machine, you need to push it back to your repository. Again, explained in this video. Just make sure you watch the video. I'm just touching the surface. So even if you do on code space, make sure you do add to the staging and then commit and then push back to your repository. Because at the end of the day, we're not be testing or evaluating your code spaces. We're going to be looking at your private repositories. And probably I forgot to mention for each labs, I think for all the labs, it's one big repository this semester. For each assignment, it would be one individual repository. And when you create a lab repository or assignment repository, you and I mean, by you, I mean your group, it might be in groups of 2 or 3, some of them. Labs are individually, most of them. But you and me are the only persons seeing what's happening in your lab, right? The other groups or the other students won't see your repository. It's a private thing between you and your instructor. In your case, would be me. Here it's been mentioned how to submit a lab and verify it passes testing. So video instructions. Another video, please watch this one as well. It's the third one, which gives you this idea that if you do your lab or assignment which involves some kind of coding, what's going to be the steps? They use GitHub Actions. I think the use would be much simpler than Matrix if you have been using Matrix for the other courses. I haven't used Matrix myself, but they say it's not going to be that much straightforward, but this is much nicer, I believe. So watch this video as well. That helps you with getting up and running with the way you need to submit a lab and verify that it passes testing. So there is this GitHub Actions folder we have on the private repository. Make sure you don't touch that folder, because at the end of the day, what it does, when you push your code to this repository, it runs a tester in the background and makes it visible for you and me that it has passed testing or not. And by the due date, you have this chance to push over and over and then change over and over until you make sure it's working and it passes all the testers, right? So again, it's video instructions, it's some other text instructions. Make sure you read all these as well. And it's been mentioned that what are the tasks for this lab 0? Again, there will be no marks. This is just a preparation, but I highly recommend that, although optional, make sure that you do all these steps. These steps has been mentioned in here clearly. There is this file lab0.py, which is your first, probably your first Python attempt, Python coding attempt. And the function is very easy. It's a simple program, and we just like to give you this idea how you do this, especially if you're going to be doing that on the code space, and how to add, how to commit, how to push it back, and how you see that you shouldn't have a red X for the testers. Hopefully you're going to have green checks all through the semester for the testers, because for the labs and for the assignments, each of them which needs you to come up with some code, there shouldn't be any red X, because seeing even one red X means that that lab or that assignment has not been complete and can't be regarded as complete. So that means that there won't be any marks for that. the first thing we need to see is that we need to see green checks for all the labs and assignments that involve some kind of coding. Other than that, there are some other tasks in this Lab 0, which is working with LaTeX or LaTeX. And this LaTeX or LaTeX, whichever you like to pronounce it. This one is an attempt to come up with some nice formula formatting, right? So starting next week, we're going to have analysis. Doing that at the end, doing some labs and assignments, you find yourself expressing some formulas, right? This is a first attempt with some basics of LaTeX, such that you can write these ones much more nicer, like these formats inside the markdown file. So this is basically the way you use LaTeX in the markdown files in the labs and assignments. Make sure you do it. It's not going to be hard. There is this video about LaTeX, and this one seems to be on YouTube. Like to dive deeper. There is this quick reference for LaTeX as well. Again, it's a PDF. It's going to be, we're not going to be using all these formulas for sure, but it's just giving you some idea, right? And back to here. There is this graphs part for Lab 0. This graphs enables you to attach an image pertaining to a graph showing something. It could be whatever. Again, we might need this one in the rest of the semester, the rest of the labs and assignments, and how you can paste an image into your markdown file. So make sure you do this as well. And if you have any problems, just let me know in the in-person lab. We're gonna have to go over your concern. And then there is this discussion board, which is part of the GitHub repository we have, which is a place we announce things. We're going to be using this one much more widely compared to the Blackboard Ultra. As I told you, everything is in here in this GitHub repository. We're using GitHub Classroom as mentioned. And in here, there is a task that add a post welcome to DSA 456 thread. Then at the end, there is this reflection part, with two questions. And you can do this. And I say you should do this because you're going to need the same kind of steps for the later on when we talk about other labs and assignments. Anyways, but just make sure that as a practice, go back to the discussions. I'm going to go to the main repository, go to the discussions. This is a discussion board for the course. At the time you see it's empty, right? And it's been mentioned you can make a new discussion, and then you can introduce yourself and your feeling about this course, what you like to learn, blah, blah, blah. You can comment on the others. And this is a nice place for us to have discussions. I would recommend all of you use this one. Even later on when you form your group to do your lab and assignment, instead of other environments, some students might like to use WhatsApp or Discord or whatever. I would say for this course, use this discussions place. For the general things, please don't share code because this is going to be visible by all the students in all the sections. But even on your lab or assignment private repository, you can use the kind of the same features on GitHub to have communication with other team members, right? So back to here, I was talking about Lab 0. Let's say I have done Lab 0 as mentioned in here. I have created a link. Where is that? I think this is here. I showed you that one previously. So you go to the labs and then you create a repository, right? let's say just as a test, I create mine. Let's say mine is Reza. Well, it's been, I think in instructions it says use, it says that you use your username, right? So let me use mine. Mine is Reza.coachesday, right? This is my Seneca username. So let's say you go based on the instructions. I'm just assuming it has been mentioned use the Seneca ID, user ID. So I'm using Reza.coachesday, right? Then I click on create team, and then it says accept the assignment. And if I click on accept this assignment, I would basically have and it says this might take a few minutes, refresh this page. Let's refresh. Then it gives me this link on the same repository, Seneca DSA456. On this organization, we're going to have this labs dash reza dash code listing, right? I go to here and it gives me this thing. And I go to lab 0. Let's say I see hello world.py, which needs me to do some kind of coding. And as I told you, you could use the code space as well. Watch the videos, please. Then you need to come up with some of these formulas and graphs and reflections in the lab0.md, this markdown file. Then you need to have this lab0.py being done at the time it returns 0. And you need to tick. And then this is the tester. The testers, you don't need to touch, right? And then when you are done with this thing, let's say I am done with all these things. Again, I could have done this locally and then pushed back to here on this on my private repository you were seeing at the time, or I could have done this one using the GitHub code spaces. And again, push to here. When I'm done, what I could do and what I should do for this course is that I should grab the address like this one, just paste this address to my lab 0, right? Please don't provide me with the address to all the labs. I have done lab 0. I'm gonna copy this address. Then I go back to the Blackboard Ultra, and what I do, let me show you the steps because this is new for all of us. So I go to the gradebook, and I see lab 0, right? At the time, you should be able to see that lab 0 or L0 under the grade. And then you click on that one, and then it says there is no due date. I would set it soon. There is no attempts, and blah, blah, blah. By the way, there is this original report, which asks us, especially in these days, that most of us use ChatGPT. Please be very careful with these things. And then I say, there is this submission, right? And for me, let me show you, because I had done this one before. If you click on submission, it gives you this one. But I have, and by the way, the same thing could happen if you had clicked on, because I had done this previously. For you, can click on view submission. Sorry, you can't click on the submission. For me, because I had done before, I can't go to view submission as well. Regardless, you're going to be directed to here. Then under assignment content, it will have said, once finalized, paste your link in the following submission area. Note that your lab/assignment submission is not considered as completed before you do this final step by the due date. I have done that one in red because we had this problem last semester as well. If you are my student and you're going to be staying in my section, it's not going to be done by doing it in here. For me, in my section, what's going to be the last step is that you paste this whole thing, right, onto this place. So previously, I had done this link just as a test. Now let me do it again. If I go to L0, and I do submission, I can hopefully edit that. No, I can't. So the reason is I have done it before, and I have submitted that. That's the reason. I have submitted. If I hadn't submitted, I could for sure edit that one. So for your case, mine was just a test like I did with Google.com. And what you can do is you just copy the link you have from here and then paste it in here under submission content and then press submit, right? And that would be on your side. And what I see on my side would be I see that there is an attempt to be graded, and I do grade. And when I do the post, you see the marks on under the grade. Okay, just make sure that you know what to do in the labs. Everything should be clear. I had the specs, and then now you have created the repository, you have completed the steps on these files, you have pushed everything back to here, and then at the end, when it's finalized and you have the green checks if needed, then you copy this thing and then paste that to the environment on uh, Blackboard Ultra. At the time, you just need to submit L0. This is the only thing you see at the time. Later on, as we proceed, I'm going to add the rest, like labs 1 to 7 and assignments 1 to 3, right? And later on, again, you're going to see your marks for the other tests or the other components. So back to here, just like to show you this idea, the way you need to submit in my case for my sections. By the way, as you see, I'm seeing all the labs and later on assignments, repositories for all of the students. This is because it's my role in here would be has been defined as the owner, right? In your case, you would just see your own labs and this one, which is the main one. So don't worry, you won't see a lot of repositories as I am seeing. I will see for all the students. So in here, what we have is these assignments folder, which I showed you previously, would be these labs folder, which I just talked about it. I talked about the labs you should do this week as well. And there is this readme.md, which stands for markdown file. And this one is this file that you are seeing at the time. There is this addenda, which there is a link in here as well. Both of them would be directed to here. In here, you would see the profs this semester. The preferred way to meet them, and I have mentioned by appointment, in person, and during the office hours, which happen to be right after we have our in-person labs starting this week. And let's go through the main ones. Please read this addendum. Please refer to the course outline. Please look at the website. These are some formal things. The assessment summary is one thing we need to talk about it, right? Right in the beginning, we have this assignment component, which we have 3 assignments at 10%, 12%, 8% for assignments 1 to 3. Overall, 30% for the assignment, like big chunk. We have the labs, which we have 7 labs. We're going to pick the top 6, the best 6 out of 7 at the end, which is 10%. Labs, as opposed to assignments, don't need to be done. So the assignments, if you want to pass the course, all need to be complete. But the labs, let's say the first 6 labs you have done and you don't like to do the lab 7, although I don't encourage at all, but anyways, you have this option not to submit lab 7. Just note that at the end, the overall thing would be 10% for all the labs. You have 2 tests, the midterm would be 30%, and the final test would be 30%. Both need to be done in person. Basically, everything needs to be done in person. But for the labs and assignments, some of the labs, again, specifically labs 4 and 5 and 7 need to be done all in class in person. The other assignments you do in groups, you can do it, and then if you have questions, you can come back to me in person in class, right? The course policy is that you need to be able to satisfactorily complete all the assignments, and by complete, completion has been stated in each and every assignment. Once you see the assignments, it says right in the beginning what do we mean by completion for each and every assignment. Mostly, if they have codes, which the assignments are all mostly coding, not all, but mostly coding, you should have seen the green check for each and every programming task. And some of them need some other factors to be regarded as complete as well. Again, when they appear, we're going to talk more about what do we mean by completion in each and every assignment. But the most important thing that we had a lot of fails in the previous semester, previous semesters maybe, is almost all the students who failed the course, they failed because of the second one, which is you need to achieve the grade of 50% or better on the weighted average of the test and the final assignments. In the final assessment, sorry, the midterm and the final exams. So you need to have a 50% or better. If it is going to be at the end of the semester, if it's going to be 49 something, I could help, but if it's going to be 48, I can't help. If you want to look at the grading policy on Seneca website, you can click this one, academic policy, subject notes, and by the way, for the notes, you can follow this link from here. It leads you to the notes for this course. You see all of them right from the beginning course. Or what you can do, if I go back to the main repository, you have this option for the course notes as well, right? The same thing. So I will be getting back to the addenda. I'll continue from where we stopped. Again, I'd just like to go over these things right in the beginning once, just to make sure that you know where to find things, right? And the textbooks are optional. We have provided you with 2 textbooks. They're both optional. If you're going to be looking at one of them, I would say look at the second one. The first one emphasizes in C++, although the concepts are the same. The main concept is DSA, right? But the second one gives you more pseudocode kind of thing, and it's a much more famous book. If I believe the library has that one, right? Because it's been mentioned in here. So let's see. Seems they have that one in the Seneca libraries as well. It might not be the recent edition, but no harm. It's 3rd edition. I believe the recent one is 4th edition or something. But anyways, you can have a look at this one as we proceed in the course as well, if you like to. But it's optional anyways. The main thing you need to have is these notes, and this is the main reference for the topics. Okay. Regarding the timeline, this is kind of thing we should stick to for this course. As you see, again, you find the link to the notes here and there. But anyways, what we need to know from here is that we're going to teach you from week 1, which is this week, all the way to week 6. And then week 7, we do the cleanup, and the test one is going to be done in the lab in person. Okay? And then when you are back from the break week or study week, you're going to be continuing with week 8 and then all the way up to week 13. And the week 14, you're going to have the final test. This is at least what we have at the time, unless something changes, which I'm going to make you aware of. But for now, just know that in week 1, just in a nutshell, we're going to be talking about introduction as I'm doing now, and then we're going to continue with Python, just the basic things. And then week 2 is the kind of math week, just a bit of math. Don't be afraid, it's not that much, but it's kind of foundation you need for the rest of the course, for the efficiency and analysis and complexity kind of theory. We need to go over the analysis and algorithms and asymptotic notation. We're going to talk about it next week. And week 3, we're going to talk about recursion. We start searching and sorting, which we continue in week 4. Then in week 4, we start lists. We continue in week 5. and add stacks and queues. And week 6, we talk about tables, or AKA maps or hash maps, these kind of things. And then week 7, you're going to have the test 1. Week 8, you're going to be back with graphs and trees, and then we'll continue with heaps and heap stores and binary search trees. And by augmented data structures, we mean some adjusted binary search trees in this course. And at the end, complexity theory. So as you see, the second half of the course would be mostly talking on graphs and trees and all these kind of things, right? The first half, we talk about the analysis, and searching, and sorting, and recursion, and lists, and tables, and these kind of things. Regarding the labs, as I talked about it, you're going to have 7 labs. At the end, the best 6 would be marked. Marks of the labs, as mentioned in here, could be either 0 or 0.5 or 1. It can't be any other marks. And just note that each of the labs, as mentioned in here, is approximately 1.67%. So it's not a big deal if you miss any one of them, although I don't recommend at all because it's a practice anyways. And some of the labs are even much more important. Just to be specific, lab 5 and lab 7 in the second half. Although it's the mark is just 1.67%, but you will need them for the final test heavily, right? So I'll recommend that you attend the labs, all of the labs, and do these in person. So the mark for the labs, especially some of the labs like 5 and 7, that one itself isn't that much important, but the knowledge you gain to do the tests and to do the other assessments would be much more important, right? By the way, the due dates you see in here, they are tentative. Lab 0 is this week, Lab 1 is next week, but the rest, we could just play with them over time. It's not that much fixed, but it's kind of a rough idea. In the first half, you're going to have Labs 1 to 4 anyways. You're going to have the assignment 1. You're going to have test 1 at the end of the first half. And starting the second half, you're going to have 3 more labs, 5, 6, and 7. You're going to have 2 more assignments, assignment 2, assignment 3. You're going to have final test at the end. Okay. Regarding the assignments, as mentioned here, they are more complex than the labs. They take more time. You're going to be forming groups. And one thing we like to mention right in the beginning of this semester is right from now, form your groups, because you can't defer this one. Last semester, near the due date, we had some students that we don't have groups. What should we do? So this semester, we have been told to ask you to form your groups early on, such that when the assignment is released, you should have already formed the group. It can't be formed any later, right? This is one thing that differs with from last semester. Okay. As mentioned in here, the completion is a minimum requirement only. We're going to let you know in each and every assignment what do we mean by the completion, this requirement. And it says the quality of piece of work includes many different aspects, but can include documentation. We like to ask you to do the comments, not all the time, not for each line of the code, because as you know, comments shouldn't be repeating the code. They should be adding logic for the complex parts of the code, for each method, for each class, for each logical block, which might be complex to the reader of your code. Provide us with documentations or comments. Many students lost marks on the documentation parts of the assignments through the past 2 semesters, so please don't. It's not going to be hard. As a habit, as a practice, that as you code, have your comments in the code as well. Consistent code style and practices. So we like you to have good naming conventions for the variables and follow the Python naming conventions. I'm going to talk about them. The correct memory usage, probably not a big deal for the Python, as was the case in programming languages like C++. You don't have to get rid of the or free up the memory over and over because programming languages like Python and Java, as you know, do some kind of garbage collection behind the scenes as opposed to C++ and C. So probably not a big deal in here, but anyways, there are still some things you should be careful of. We're going to be checking your code in the assignments for the correctness of code, for the edge cases. What if the list you pass is empty? What if the list you pass is none? So on and so forth, right? The efficiency talks about the thing we're going to be starting next week, which is the analysis, complexity. Correct mathematical and analytical statements for analysis. We're going to talk about that one next week. Thorough, complete, and correct answers to the reflection questions. And for the reflection questions, please, I forgot to talk about that one in the lab zero. I was showing the reflection part as well there. Please note that you provide us with at least a paragraph. It could be even more, but at least a paragraph for each question. So for the reflection parts on the markdown files in each and every lab and assignment, please repeat the question and provide your answer in at least one paragraph. Okay? If you just answer with just one word or one sentence, it doesn't give you a mark. And in the case of the labs, a bad reflection part deducts half of the mark. As you remember, I told you the labs are going to be marked 0 or 0.5 or 1. If you have a bad reflection, even if you have done all the lab carefully, clearly, and completely, you're still going to end up with 0.5. By the way, I forgot to talk about in the labs again. Back to the labs. If you do it completely with a good reflection, you're going to get 1. Not completely or not having a good reflection, probably 0.5. If you have done nothing or if you have done and submitted after the due date for the labs, that's 0. Okay, so be very careful. For the assignments, we have some late penalty or late policies, but for the labs, we don't have any. Okay, and it was mentioned in here, assignment will take approximately 10 to 20 hours to complete. Might be different for the assignments, might be different from team to team, from person to person, but anyways, make sure in the assignments when you form your groups, all of you should be doing coding parts. So if there are some tasks and 3 coding tasks in the whole assignment, let's say assignment 2 or 3 or even assignment 1, just make sure that all of you 3 in the same group do one of the tasks. So at the end, we will be looking at the GitHub repository and your commits. And we're going to be checking that if some of you haven't done any commits in the coding part, even if you have done some part in the assignment, but you haven't done any coding part in the assignment, it means that you don't get any marks from the assignment, and you have to redo the whole assignment on your own with a late penalty of 50%, which is not worth it, right? So right from the beginning, make sure you all of you in the code in the team do the coding part. The other reason which is important is that in the test, anyways, either in the midterm or in the final, you're gonna do coding on paper. So I can assure you that if you don't do your part in the assignments and labs, and if you haven't practiced, then you won't have a good solution to the questions on the exams anyways. Again, assignment completion, please read these ones. I'm trying my best to skip through them, at least for the first time. But it says failure to complete even one assignment result in failing grade for the whole course. Completion of all the assignments is a requirement for passing PSA 456. It is possible to get a 0 for a completed task. It means you have probably done it so late and so bad, but you have passed the completion at least. You have got a grade of 0. It's rare, but it might happen. You might have a grade 0 for assignment, but you still have completed the assignment. I would say it would happen very rarely, but anyways, just to let you know, you need to read these at least once. Then it talks about the grading. We're going to provide you with rubrics. What do we mean by efficiency? What do we mean by consistency? All these kind of things. And it says you might need to resubmit your program if it is very far from the correct solution. The assignment and lab submission. Here it says that it should be done on the GitHub repository, on your private GitHub repository, which I showed you the example for Lab 0, right? But you note that for my sections, note that the last step is not getting it done and having it prepared on the GitHub. Is that you copy that link and then come to here and then go to labs, at the time just Lab 0 or the assignment, and then click on that lab or assignment and then submit, right? Just make sure you do that. Not, I don't care if you have done it on the GitHub repository. I should have received your link to your private repository on the Blackboard by the due date, right? It could be whatever. Then there is this mistest policy. Don't think about that one. Just from my experience, all the students who miss the test miss the course anyways, just to be honest with you. If you are looking for depth at the end of the semester, you should provide us with some notes. To be honest with you, depth exams are harder than the regular exams. So it's not worth it to try depth exams. The other thing is for SOP, if you're going to be looking for SOP exams at the end of the semester for this course, that needs a student to have at least 70% in the midterm, which means 35 plus out of 50 marks in the midterm. Which if you have that one, you don't need SOP anyways, because you can attend the final exam and pass it, right? So assume you don't see this thing. Assume there's no mistest policy, because to be honest with you, it's not worth it to miss any test or any components, any labs or assignments. Do them all on time and submit by the due date, right? So this was the addenda.md. I'm just going through the items we have in here. There is this exam review that marked down, which is what we're going to talk about before your midterm. Along the way, as we go, you can have a look at on these ones as well, just to let you know that this T1 review is for the midterm, and this exam review is for the final exam. And then we have this, and by the way, later on when you go over these questions, you could post your answer on discussions, and then there is this opportunity for the other students to come and maybe correct or comment under your solution. Okay, on your solution. There is this style guide that marked down, which is a bit of help to do things in the markdown. You need that one doing part of your labs or assignments, because anyways you're going to be preparing the readme.md or assignment 1, lab 1, whatever, that MD file as part of the lab or assignment. So have a look at this one as well. This is all things we have on this first page. There are some resources, like the video list on some topics. These are prepared by Kathy, who is the course lead over time. So you are welcome to watch any of these ones. There is not any order, because AVL is for the second half, hash tables is the end of the first half over and over. But you can find these very useful in case you miss any lecture. That lecture is not recorded. Anyways, you can have these lectures from Kathy as well. I would record my lectures anyways. Then Python reference from Seneca Library is a link which shows you all these things. Some books, some online books, like Python crash course, blah, 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 blah. Then you have this kids workshop, again from Kathy, who is the course lead. There are some activities if you are a first time user of Git or GitHub, you can have a look at these ones as well. We're not using a lot of Git on GitHub, but anyways, there is this link which says My Animations, Sorting, Linked Links, Stacks, and Queues, which we're going to use this thing, again provided by Kathy on the GitHub IO, which is going to be useful when we do sorting and searching and stacks and queues and lists. We're going to be back to these later on anyways. And there is this GDB guide. If you, I doubt you're going to be needing this because it's going to be using G++ and things like that. It's basically a debugger for G++, C++, which we are not using anyways in this course, right? Command line debugger, but we're not using that anyways in this course. So I talked about this thing, right? This is the main repository. Back to where we stopped, or where we was directed to here, is that we were talking about the contents. So I showed you the announcements, the welcome one, and I talked about these videos and this link, and this, the one that you received today. And this will be the same for all the lectures we're going to have through the rest of the semester, right? Just the number 1 turns into number 2, number 3, all the way to the end of the semester. And these are the announcements. You have the gradebook. You have the calendar, which is at the time probably it's empty because we haven't set any dates. I believe regarding the things which need to be marked, you have this option to go either to the gradebook or to the calendar. You see the assignments and the labs due dates, and then you can click on them and be directed to the same place as in the gradebook, basically. Discussions here, we don't use it much. Messages, the same, we don't use them much because we have this discussion board on the GitHub. Again, this is the main thing we have. Blackboard is just used in the case of the gradebook and in the case of the submissions, right? Contents in here as getting started, which was mentioned in the announcement as well, regarding the attending the class. Let's read through these lines. You will be doing class online, like starting today. We did it online on Big Blue Button. One class in person each week. The online class will be on Big Blue Button recorded, the same as today. We start today. To attend the online class, you should receive an announcement, the same as you received today. Please join on time. Thank you that you did today. To watch the online class afterward, you need to wait for a few minutes, or maybe in some cases hours, based on my previous experiences with Big Blue Button, and then you see the recording. Right? Note that the in-person classes won't be recorded, as mentioned in here. They won't be recorded. You are expected to attend all the in-person classes. If you miss a class, it is your responsibility to catch up. Probably asking your friends who attended or something like that. Both of the tests will be done during the in-person classes. Guys, there is no option in any of the sections of this course to have the online or at home or anything like that for the tests. Okay. It was here even before ChatGPT, but even before then, from the time we started this course like 2 semesters ago, there is no such option to do the test in outside the class at home, right? So make sure you do practice on paper again and again because all the tests need to be done on paper. Some of the labs will be done as in-class activity. I talked about them, labs 4, 5, and 7. And you are either there to do it or you are not. If you are not, you receive 0 for the labs. The same as you haven't done it or you have submitted the lab late. Those labs you need to do them in person. So this was this attending class item. The second one is course repository, which is the course content is in a private GitHub repository. And you can see this link. You can follow this link and see the video. To get access to any of the course contents, you must have a GitHub account. Go to this link again, accept the invitation and assignment, blah, 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 blah. And everything is in there. And I showed you these things as well. Okay? I'm just repeating, just trying to explore the items, just navigating through these things we have on the big blue button. Blackboard Ultra. So this was getting started. The faculty contact information, as I provide you with this thing. This is my email. I prefer to receive an email rather than Microsoft Teams. Anyways, expected response time, I'll try to do it within 24 hours, but it might be, don't look at it as a promise. Sometimes it might be even later, right? And I've mentioned if you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please send a second email. Announcement schedule, I generally make statements to report things like reminders and changes that are unexpected. Where to ask a question, we'll be using a discussion board across all the sections of PSA 456. This is a great place to ask your questions. You may get a response sooner if other students know the answer you seek, right? If your question is private, you can contact me directly on the email or Teams, but again, in parentheses, I would highly recommend that to happen in person, right? Please, please, please. If you do it in person in the class right after the in-person lab, that would be much nicer. That would be much more helpful for both of us. So schedule, we have this weekly schedule. Again, the same things. This is another way to be directed for each and every week, for each and every topic to the course notes, right? So let's say again today we like to talk about Python. So this is intro to Python. So we click this link and we're going to be directed to here, right? This is another way to be directed to the schedule and the contents of the course. The labs, I have provided you with these links to the labs. If you are not on GitHub and you like to be connected, this is the way you can create your repository. I showed you before. This is the links for each and every lab. Lab 0 all the way to lab 7. Again, note that lab 0 is not going to be marked. It's just for your practice. Do the end of this week, such that we make sure you know how to find your way around these things in here, right? So this is the labs, just links to directly leading you to that GitHub repositories, GitHub items, the assignments, the same thing. At the time, you can go to here, but it's not going to work for now because we haven't yet released any of the assignments. So for now, forget about it and just note that for each and every assignment, again, there is a link which leads you to the repository and it says coming soon. Assignment 1 for sure is going to be happening in the first half. Assignment 2 and 3 mostly happen in the second half. I think this semester probably would be nice if we can attempt to have assignment 2 somewhere even before the study break, just to reduce the overall workload you're going to have in the second half of the course. This is the assignments. We have a lab assignment submission. So at the time, this is another way to reach to the things you need to submit. You just click on this L0. So there are many other ways. You can come here and click, or you can go to the gradebook, or maybe later on you can go to calendar as well, right? Just note that as we proceed, I'm going to provide you with more and more links in here. Now at the time, it's just L0. Later on, you're going to see labs, other assignments. There is this course site, which is another way to reach you to here. There is this discussion board. There is this Student Blackboard Ultra resources. And since Blackboard Ultra is new, again, to all of us, you might find these videos in here helpful, not just for this course, but for the other courses as well. And then there is this learning resources, as usual. You had this in the original Blackboard. This is the Blackboard Ultra version, kind of thing. And in here, you have this LinkedIn Learning, as you know, right? Which you can use for Python courses, algorithms courses, GitHub courses, everything you might need. Since you're a Seneca student, you have access to all of those, as usual. And then we have these Seneca student resources, which is going to be giving you all this information. These are just some other links I'd like to mention. You have at the time accessible on this Blackboard Ultra environment for this course. So having said all this, now let's go back to the DSA 456. Soon I will provide you with some other repository, which is just something between you and me as the instructor and the students, such that we can provide you with some more uh, learning material just for our sections. I will provide you with some drawings, with some PowerPoints, not PowerPoints, sorry, with some maybe PDFs, or with some, because I do on a slide PowerPoint and turn it to PDF just for easy access. Then I will provide you with probably some more code along the way as we go forward in the course. Okay? At first, let me just zoom in. We have this introduction, which is as you see in here. We look at how data for computers can be best represented and processed. We look at different standard data structures and algorithms. Talk about formal analysis, how you compare algorithms against each other. And in your assignments and labs, we need this because you not only are expected to submit a working solution, but also an efficient solution, right? So it says it's an introduction. It's not all the things you need to know about all the algorithms. It's just an introduction. It's just the first course. And you can go to books. We gave you as optional ones to know more, dive deeper. And then this book serves as the subject notes for their social algorithms in Seneca College, blah, 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 blah. All the source code samples will not be included here. This might change in future. So this is just a piece of warning in the beginning, not warning, just introduction in the beginning. This says there is a PDF generator for these online notes as well. I just tried this one once long time ago. It was not that much working, so it's mostly recommended to read these things online. Okay, so having said all this, you go to the Python. Introduction to Python says that this course expects you to know Python basics. Python is a high-level programming language. Many think it's a new programming language, kind of new, but it's not. It's even older than Java. It's 1991 something. And it says for the purpose of this course, we need 3.8. It's not needed to be this exact. Basically, you can go to this python.org, and based on your environment, I'm on Windows at the time, it might show you the versions to download. For me, what's showing the recent version is 3.11.3. So whatever you use, it is 3 plus should work for this course. But there is no harm in downloading the recent version, which is 3.11.3 at the time. So do that. I just wanted to mention that this 3.8 is not a big deal, right? You might have a local installation. In the case of local installation, I would have, you can follow this link as well, by the way. It's regarding this book that gives you this idea about how to install locally. It's not a big deal. But anyways, I have two suggestions. The first one is this pie chart from JetBrains, which is probably the most professional one. And the big problem you have with this one is regarding the pricing. You go to pricing, you have this thing that it is $250. I think there is this community edition which is free, but the edition we are talking about, like the ultimate edition, this ultimate edition, as you see, is very expensive. It's $250, right? But one nice thing is that you have special offers, and as you see, for students and teachers, it's free. It takes probably, I don't know, maybe a few days, maybe a few hours for you to verify yourself. to them as a student, and then you get free access to the environment, all environments in JetBrains, including this PyCharm. I would recommend this one first, especially regarding the formatting your code, or you can use your old friend Visual Studio Code. If you're doing things locally, if you're doing things on the GitHub directly, you can use the code spaces as we talked about. Many students like to work with code spaces based on my experience for the past 2 semesters. Okay, so back to the notes. This was about the first things, and then we go to the basics of Python. I just go over the first part, which is interpreted versus compiled, and then we should continue. I believe we should continue in the class because we have no time. So interpreted versus compiled, as you see here, Python is both interpreted as compiled. JavaScript is an example which is interpreted. C++ or C are examples which are compiled. But in the case of Python, you have them both. It's like the case for C#. It's like the case for Java, right? So in these kind of cases, you don't run a program without compiling it first. It doesn't give you an executable or something like C++ does. It's like you translate it directly into the bytecode, and then that bytecode is portable. You can run that one on any platform, the same as Java again. So it's like it's compiled in time into a bytecode, and then that bytecode is something which is portable, and you can port it to any other platform, either it's Mac or it's Windows or Linux or whatever. And then at runtime, this bytecode is interpreted or translated into your program, into computer's machine language. So just a simple question: Python is interpreted or compiled? Is both of them kind of similar to Java or C#? It's first compiled or just-in-time compiled and then interpreted. Is this something you need to run your code? No, it's just a bit of information. And we're going to continue with the Python shell in class and talk more about the lab 0 as well when we're done with these things. I'm going to provide you with more examples, like more cheat sheets, just to give you some resources, different resources as a package you can have access to regarding Python, because starting next week, which is week 2, we should continue with the analysis. We're not going to be back to Python directly. And again, it's just the basics of Python.